Not too long ago, I had mentioned some very profound quotations, and a lot of these quotations, a lot of us know, and this current generation is coming to know by the way of different areas in their lives in terms of human behavior and human deeds. You know how it says those who do not learn from the past are destined to repeat it. I also said that the only way that the world is going to become a better place and a better society, we have to become better human beings. And so that ties into human relationship and how we choose to communicate with one another without any deception or manipulation, which is equivalent to deception. But what's going on now on these plantations and what has been going on even more so for years, but it's not a lot of people who actually starts noticing these things to the degree that they're actually starting to speak out on. I've had numerous conversations with a whole lot of brothers, primarily of different people who they had disagreements with on these plantations, or where you have one person stabbing you in your back, trying to sabotage your efforts in order to come up and make your life a little bit more pleasant to live, you know? And what we've come to notice, like back on the plantation, whenever a couple of slaves got into it, or some slaves had got into it, but let's just talk about just two particular men or three particular men. It's when this slave and this other slave had got into it and they had a disagreement. The one who was the guilty party, who stirred up all of the conflict, he is the one that's always left alone and onto himself. And people like this, they just can't bear to look at themselves. I mean, whenever they look at themselves, they see this grotesque so-called human being to the degree they can't bear to look at themselves. And so when they see that other people have moved on with their lives due to the fact that this other person has proven themselves an endangerment for their lives, they just decide to exercise self-preservation and just move on with their lives so that they can get around that obstacle and continue to do whatever is necessary, or deal with whatever they have to endure in order to reach that apex in their life that they know is going to be beneficial to them. And so once this person that's on the plantation notices that no one wants to speak to him anymore, all of a sudden he runs to Massa. Massa, this person, or, he's not speaking to me. And then what he does, he uses plantation policies in order to try to manipulate people to feel as though they have to deal with them on a regular basis when they know that this person absolutely does not want to have anything to do with them anymore, because they are swimming within what they call the Judas Factor. These people are Judas. These people are betrayers. These people are no good. And people can say that you're judging. I don't care. This is real life. And don't be talking about, oh, well, judge not, or lest ye gonna be judged. Well, everybody's gonna be judged any damn way. This is the reason why we have this thing called Judgment Day. You're gonna be judged anyway. But that doesn't imply that you have to walk around in this society naive and ignorant to to the people in your environment. If your environment is cluttered with a whole bunch of snakes and vipers, who the hell do you look like talking about you advocate self-preservation, but you're not properly paying attention to your environment in terms of who is the snake and who is the viper? You have to be able to distinguish your environment, if it's safe or unsafe when it comes to particular people. So what a lot of these people do, even in these modern days, what they do, they run to Massa and they tell him, well, like I said, when they use certain plantation type policies, um, how am I going to be able to work next to this person if I don't feel as though this person got my back out here? See, what they do, they wait until they get on the plantation to address a personal problem. You know, they go to the massa and they talk to him about a personal problem and pull Massa out of his proper place. And what I mean by that, whatever's going on in two employees' personal lives is none of the institution's prerogative. It's really not. But then you have this person who is causing the conflict, and then he's going to the so-called leadership, manipulating them to even compromise their position to get them involved in some personal issues. And the reason why I say they do this on the plantation in order to manipulate it is because these people have your information in your personal life. They have your information. They can pick up the phone at any given time and call you and say, hey, bro, why is all this tension going on between us? I think we need to talk. They don't want to do that personally because they know that they're going to feel the wrath. And so what they like to do is try to play it safe and wait until they get on the plantation and in an environment to where they know that if you speak honestly and forthrightly, there's a very good chance that you are going to, you might as well say something that's going to eventually self-terminate you at your job. And so this snake would rather wait until we get on the plantation in order to have this discussion. And then we get at this long table inside of the plantation and we're in there discussing something that is rootly something personal that they cultivated themselves, that they caused the division in the brotherhood or the partnership or whatever you want to call it. So this person is not only not able to look at themselves, and they've destroyed so many friendships and brotherhood, but they're also pulling Massa out of his rightful place from running the institution effectively, and they're pulling him into an area that is personal, that he may feel the need to end it immediately and sometimes abruptly, because what's going on is out of place. And see, that's the whole thing about working on a plantation. Back in the days of slavery, well, there's some slavery going on right now, but you know what I mean. When I go back in the past, when our people was enslaved on these plantations at the beginning of this so-called New World, we had some discord on the plantation that, you know, our ancestors could have easily resolved. But it was always that one Negro. It was always that one Negro who contained the Judas Factor. He would always run to Massa and get Massa involved, and he'd get in Massa's ear. And then the next thing you know, Massa get in his son's ear. And then the next thing you know, his son is abusing everybody except the right person. And then all of this conflict is going on in the environment, and tensions start to swell. And the one who signed the check that he eventually found out that he can't cash when he looked at himself, which is the guilty party, is the primary one that's keeping the conflict going, because he is the one who caused the conflict in the first place. So you have a whole lot of people in this system that works like that. And so what you need to do is, as I said before, go to the plantation or your job or whatever you want to call it. Do your job, mind your business, make your money, don't make friends, and don't make enemies. Just go there and make your money, do what you have to do productively and effectively, and go home. Because you have a whole lot of people who would say that they're your brother and your partner and everything, and they're wondering why nobody is speaking to them. And instead of them calling you on your personal phone, on both of you personal time to try to resolve the issue, no, that's not effective enough. They would rather do it on the plantation because they got Massa's back after they done already brainwashed him. And it got him involved in a whole bunch of personal issues. But Massa is not smart enough to understand, why am I allowing this person to get me involved in some personal bullshit that he cultivated between him and these other two men? And yet and still, he's not recognizing that this troublemaker is making trouble for him, because once he act out based upon him being brainwashed against these other one or two innocent people, one of these brothers got lawyers, and one of these brothers don't mind speaking up for himself, and he is going to do what is right in order to defend himself, because he's got lawyers. I mean, there's things that he can do to trouble the water. And you had better believe, after the water gets troubled, the one who cultivated all of this nonsense, he's gonna go on about his business the same way he's doing it right now, whispering in other people's ear. I'm talking about, this is what's going on today, and this is what goes on in general. See, I speak in generalities, and I also speak of what I'm experiencing currently. But what I'm experiencing currently goes on in a whole lot of these institutions, primarily in our community, because we still got these house niggas running around here trying to make people's lives more complicated than they make it themselves. I mean, if my life is going to be complicated, then allow me to make it complicated. And just like anyone else, when they are in the process of growth, and each day you go to the plantation, and of course you're going to make some mistakes here and there. You know, that's the whole purpose of writing you up, to let you know you need to straighten up. There's some issues about yourself that you need to pay close attention to, so that you will be able to remain here and help us accomplish making this institution function properly. So this is what that's all about. But when you stir up a whole bunch of personal nonsense simply because you cannot now live with yourself because of your own ambition, now that you've gotten where you were and you still don't have any peace. And when it comes to proper instinct and self-preservation, these other people who you done betrayed, you stepped on them, you plunged the dagger in their backs and in their hearts, simply because they have enough common sense, intelligence, and wisdom to move on and away from you. Now they're wrong. See, people like that are pathetic. And as I said, I speak in generalities. When you go to your job, you're going to bump into people like this. This is the reason why I call these institutions plantations. Because when it all boils down to it, the first institutions that Black people worked for over here in this so-called New World establishment called America were the plantations. They were the plantations. But it was always that one Negro that stood over, who loved Massa, and Massa loved him. He let him sleep on the job. He let him slack on the job. He let him do everything on the job. And Massa let him get away with it. But what Massa don't understand is that this person is causing you problems more so than he's causing anyone else, because anyone else, as I said before, we've cut off all communication and contact, and we've moved on with our lives. And now that he sees that the people don't want to have anything to do with him, because he's a snake. Now he's going to Massa about some personal things, and he's influencing Massa to step outside of his position to deal with some personal bullshit that he cultivated between him and other employees, which is a no-no on the job front. So it sounds like the people who are asserted to be the troublemakers are in fact not. So if you can relate to this, I want you to know that you are not the troublemaker simply because you decided to move on, because you actually have a life. And you're only using this as a stepping stone in order to get where you know you need to be in life. And so when you go to these institutions, you make certain that the primary focus is you, your growth, and your objective, and nothing else. I'm not saying walk around and be rude or disrespectful to anyone, but you have to be wise and you have to be very attentive, and don't get yourself emotionally attached to anybody or even intellectually attached to anybody, because you don't need to be intellectually attached to anybody. You know what you're there for. Just focus on that and do your job effectively and do your job properly. Get your money and invest in yourself, and you move forward and you leave all the rest of that garbage behind, because that's really all it is. It's just waste. So don't waste your time on waste. You keep right on moving forward. And if you are dealing with a person or a people who have caused your journey to be complicated, you move on. If they are not willing to deal with your dysfunctionalities between them and yourself on a personal basis, and if they want to always try to stir up trouble and try to defame you and try to demoralize you on the plantation, then you already know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a snake. And what did they say about serpents? You have to care for, you have to handle a snake very delicately, if you handle them at all. Me, I don't deal with snakes at all. I don't deal with them at all. Because in my life journey, every time I tried to deal with a snake, I got bit. And getting bit don't feel good. And I'm pretty certain a whole lot of you can agree with that. And so this is why I say I speak in generalities. I speak in general. So keep your mind focused on what you're there for. Do your job. Do your job effectively. Get going. Get going. And the people who stirred up some immoral stuff, if they can't look at themselves, it's not your problem. That's not your problem. Because if you cause someone's life to be complicated, and at the time you felt like what you was doing was so right, how come you're not at peace? And then they try to do things that try to put people's attention towards you as being immoral, like, come on, y'all, let's pray before we go out into these streets. So you're such a holy person now, right? Y'all better be careful what type of prayer circles you get into, because the majority of these people ain't holy at all. They just can't get their way with people. And they're stressed out because they spent a whole lot of time looking at themselves, because I allow people to look at themselves. No, I'm not going to allow you to talk to me. You need to talk to oneself, because how is anybody else going to be able to communicate with you or forgive you if you haven't done it first to oneself? You have to forgive yourself for what you did. And the reason why it's a sign that you can't forgive yourself for what you did is due to the fact you can't look at yourself. The only way that you are going to be able to forgive yourself, you have to be able to look at yourself and condemn the person who you are, so that this current person can become a person, can become a person of the past. You have to forgive yourself first before anyone else can. But if every time someone turns around, you're trying to impose a resolve on people on the plantation where you know that's not proper, to try to resolve it because you got some tensions in between y'all, but you don't want to do it personally, you ain't nothing but a deceiver. Ain't nobody stupid. Everybody see you, bro. Everybody see you. And I'm pretty certain that a whole lot of you are going through this on these plantations. That's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, because you still got a whole bunch of these house niggas out here in these modern times. So don't let Brother Malcolm, what he said, fall upon your ears as a lie, because what Brother Malcolm was talking about was very true. Was very true. And now these house niggas are pulling Massa out of his rightful position to deal with his madness. So as time goes on, things are crumbling around his world. Everything is crumbling around his world. And those who he done wrong to, we're gonna sit back and we're gonna watch it happen. I'm not giving you no outlets. If they do you wrong, you let them deal with themselves. You don't have to deal with them. And don't allow them to make you feel bad. Well, you know, we do need to talk. After you come to a conclusion, you don't need to say nothing. What you need to do is back away and you let God deal with them. You let God deal with them. So with that being said, I'm gonna get off here because I gotta go and pick someone up, spend some time with before I go to work. And everyone have a good day, and everybody stay human and keep your eyes and your ears open. And everything is self-preservation. Whatever you try to accomplish in your life, you do just that. You keep your focus and you stay away from the snakes and you stay away from the vipers.